Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
One person that's going to be like, oh, I want to be just like Jordan Belfont. You got the other person be like, God, what a douchebag.
I can't believe a 70-something Martin Scorsese made a movie this hectic, entertaining. It never stops. It's like a train runs over you, and it's like, it's absolutely incredible.
But it's hard to watch these douchebags for 3 hours, whereas in like Goodfellas, it's so cool, it's so stylish, and I kind of enjoy the story so much more, and they're not quite as hardcore. If it was all Tommy in Goodfellas, I would be like, no, too much. He's too crazy.
Hello, everyone. Joining us remotely today, we have Phil.
Hello.
Jonathan.
Hello.
And as always, Kobi.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about Martin Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
at Flixwatcher Pod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher.
Hello, film fans. Welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast. Joining us remotely today, we have Phil and Jonathan. If you could please say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hello, I'm Phil. I work at the Prince Charles Cinema. I have done for the last too long. And I'm a manager there, and I'm also a co-host of the Pod Charles Cinecas, the official podcast of said cinema. With the other guy, Jonathan, who's over there. He can talk now.
Hello. My name is Jonathan Foster, and yeah, I also work at the Prince Charles Cinema. I work over up in the design department. I say up because it's upstairs in the cinema in this really small office, and only hobbits could fit up there, and they somehow squashed my 6'6" self up there. Nice. Yeah, so this is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. That cinema is made for hobbits, and I'm Gandalf, who walks around all day long. And yeah, I host the Pod Charles Cinecas. It's, as Phil said, the official podcast of the Prince Charles Cinema. We talk about the cinema, movies that show at the cinema, and our guests include people who work at the cinema. And it's a fun podcast. It's really fun.
It's great.
And it's a fun cinema as well. So yeah, check out Podcast Charles Cinecas. One thing I want to ask you guys is, you're kind of famous for your marathons and your all-nighters. Mm-hmm. What kind of people do you see coming into those sessions? How many people fall asleep during them? And what's the fun thing about doing those kind of sessions?
Angry loners, the unemployable, the criminally insane.
No, they're good. They're good lot. Like, it depends what it is, man. It depends what. I mean, if we're getting Wes Anderson, you've got the loveliest people I've ever seen in my life. They're so polite. Similarly with the Lord of the Rings crowd, but you get Arnie. You get like,
Beefcake.
Arnold Schwarzenegger marathons are crazy. They're some of the drunkest and liveliest people. And they probably sleep the most because they pass out.
They get drunk, pass out, wake up in the middle of T2, like, what?
What happens? Why? What's the
why
hand?
be good? Yeah.
Why thumbs up? Why? But why male models?
No, we have the best fan in the world. They've been so sweet, especially over lockdown.
Yes.
And it's nice. It's nice that people still care, even when they can't come to the cinema.
Oh, we care. We care a lot. It's tough for everyone. So it's good. It's good that we're talking now and connecting remotely, and hopefully once lockdown finishes, we'll connect via a Sylvester Stallone marathon and maybe fall asleep during Cobra.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not during Demolition Man.
Not during Demolition Man. You could have chosen Demolition Man, Phil. Anyway, Phil, you chose the film for today. Yeah. And that is Wolf of Wall Street. So can you tell us why you chose it and give us a less than 60-second synopsis?
Based on a true story, Leonardo DiCaprio played Jordan Belfont, a stockbroker who sort of figured out a sort of loophole in the market, and like with these weird band of like outsiders outsmart the whole game and take advantage of a lot of stupid people and make a lot of money. And I mean, I didn't mean for it to become so timely when I picked the movie, but you know, it had become with the whole GameStop, Reddit, Wall Street debt thing.
Yeah, true.
But I think it's an incredible movie. I can't believe a 70-something Martin Scorsese made a movie this like hectic, entertaining. It's full of life. It never stops. It's like a train runs over you, and it's like it's absolutely incredible. I can't get over it. Like, people half his age can't make a movie like that, and I feel like it still doesn't get enough due for a variety of reasons. But I think I sort of summed it up there.
So, where Helen and Jonathan, where do you sit on the Wolf of Wall Street? Helen?
So this is not my favourite Scorsese film. I'd struggle a fair bit with this one, to be honest. I think the first time I saw it, I kind of fell asleep. For me, it's way too long. I think it's way too long, even for a Scorsese film. And I love Goodfellas. I love it to bits. And you can kind of like tell that Scorsese's like, these guys are having a wild time, but it's really bad and you shouldn't do this. Whereas with this, it kind of doesn't have any morality around it. And the female characters in it don't really have a lot to say, really. And it's kind of, it's a difficult way. I find it a little bit boring. So sorry, Phil. Like, it's not one of my favourites.
I won't take it personally.
But Scorsese will. Marty, what do you say to that? Jonathan?
Well, I'm a bit like in the middle of you two guys. Like,
come on, man, back me up.
Well, see, the first time I saw it, I wasn't a big fan of it, and then rewatching it for this, like I just saw it last night, and it does a little bit like get influenced by what's going on right now, like the GameStop like fiasco that's going on. That makes me more engrossed into what's going on. But like, yeah, I love Goodfellas so much. Goodfellas to me is a perfect movie, and I feel like with this, Scorsese wanted to go back to using that formula, and I think like it's full of incredible performances, incredible scenes, and so many memorable moments in The Wolf of Wall Street. But like, it just as a whole it is a bit much, and like it like doesn't stop. Like, the gas pedal just keeps on going. It's like I feel like, you know, the scene where Jordan thinks that he like drove perfectly like home on the Quaaludes on the lemons. Like, I feel like it leaves you feeling like the reveal after, when you realize he just crashed the hell out of that car. And that's kind of how I feel after watching this film. It's like, holy shit, because it's like really hard to watch. Like, for like like you said, Helen, the women characters, there's not much going on for them. Poor Margot Robbie is just like straight up just like, hey, get nude, come, like, spread your legs. And there's so much of that, and she's like actually one of the ones that gets better, like more work to do in this film, and she's like strong in moments, but it's not quite like, you know, Goodfellas, where and also just off the back of what Helen said as well, like the characters don't feel like sometimes I get where, you know, Scorsese's like, yeah, these guys are crazy, they're horrible, and you have two types of people that watch it. One person that's going to be like, oh, I want to be just like Jordan Belfont, or you got the other person like, God, what a douchebag. But it's hard to watch these douchebags for 3 hours, whereas in like Goodfellas, it's so cool, it's so stylish, and I kind of enjoy the story so much more, and they're not quite as hardcore. If it was all Tommy in Goodfellas, I would be like, no, too much, he's too crazy. But you don't have that, so yeah. Sorry.
God damn it.
I don't know. I'm more towards Phil's side than yourself, Jonathan.
Thank you, Kobi.
But I mean, you know, insider trading here. Not to use that concept. But before we start the session, I always send like a few talking points, and one of the talking points was, "Is this a bit too much?" ? And
we've already hit it.
Yes. For me, it's just the time zips by with this film. This is my second time watching it, but that, you know, that 3 and a bit hour time, when you see 3 and a bit hours, you kind of think, oh, I could probably watch 2 shorter films in that same time and get twice enjoyment out of it.
It's hard to justify.
It's hard to justify 3 hours, but when I sat down and started watching it, it flew by, and in the moment, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. You're laughing at things, but as soon as it kind of finishes down, I felt a bit empty. I was like, well, he didn't really lose out, really, did he? He's still got a fair bit more money than most people in the world.
But that's life. That's what happened.
And he also gets to star in his, well, not star, but, you know, he kind of didn't really lose that much. And then he gets this movie made about himself, which he obviously makes shitloads of money from the rights of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, there's like, this film is like, you can be that asshole and life is still going to be great, which I kind of have problems with anyway. But
and just have all you've done is had a wild ride through it. And you know, morals wise, you know, this is not a moralistic film, but that's not Scorsese's style. But it did in a way, it just seemed to over glamorize it for me. And I just think, you know, the bit where he's talking about, for example, there's 3 types of prostitutes, and it's like, do you need that bit?
Do you need
that bit, really?
Yeah.
But I think you can go. I think you can show the excesses without going like it was just a bit too much.
You could show like an hour of it, and then that would be fine. But this is like 2 hours 45 minutes of it, and then the first 15 minutes is like, shit, he got caught, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah. I found myself like about 2 hours into the film, just feeling like, oh man, it must be around, like, you know, wrapping up soon, and then check the time. It's like another hour. Holy shit! Oh,
I mean,
and I wasn't, you know, I'm enjoying it. It's intense. It's intense. You're being beat over the head with sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Let's talk about the finance sector. It's not starting off with Joe Pesci stabbing a guy who they already thought was dead in the boots. This is like guys in finance in suits, and it's more hectic than any of those films. It is entertaining, but I think each time I feel like, I mean, the first time I saw Margot Robbie, I was like, fucking hell. But each time I see it now, I'm like, oh, dude. But she's great. She's outside of this role, she's done amazing, and she's forged a career which is fantastic, and she's driven through so many new projects as a result of the power she's got made from this film. So, not begrudging that, but a lot of the other characters, as female characters, as Helen and Jonathan were saying, are not as well drawn as we'd like to be. I think in this day and age, we just want a bit of balance there. In that story. But yeah,
I think that's fair. I think that's a valid criticism, and I think that it's a shame that the thing that popped up in a lot of Scorsese work, with obviously a handful of very good obvious exceptions like Karen and Goodfellas and Sharon Stone and Casino, and some of his early stuff. And I'm a big fan of Scorsese, and I feel like this is a movie you would take for granted if it was. Because it's Scorsese, sorry. If it was anyone else, that's their first movie, I think it would get a lot more props. But because it's Scorsese and it's familiar territory for him, And you could argue he doesn't do it as well as something like Goodfellas. I think that's also fair. But it does that thing for me where it introduces me to a world I don't really care about.
Yeah.
And then I'm suddenly fascinated by because of these sort of whackball characters. And the cast is incredible. Everyone is great in it. Leonardo DiCaprio, this is my favorite Leo. I sort of kind of, I sort of always I'm annoyed that he didn't win for this and he won for something like The Revenant.
I kind of agree with you on that, Phil. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the thing is more, the change is more drastic. You know, he's literally a puppy at the beginning of this movie. He's,
I know, he got drinking at lunchtime?
But he's like so soft-spoken and people walk all over him. He's overshadowed by Matthew McConaughey at a point where McConaughey was about to break again. So it was a surprise. And then that character just gets bigger and bigger and more out of control. And I would say the one thing I don't agree criticism-wise, I think Scorsese is allowed to portray a world without morality, but I think there is a morality. I think people sort of, you're ignoring the last third of that movie where he turns into a complete monster and it sort of undoes the rest of the movie. You know, he turned into a wife beater and he almost killed the child.
Yeah.
And he may not lose all his money, but that again isn't a fault of the movie. That's what happened. That's life. That's America. It's the story of America in one movie, in that money can buy you anything. Yeah. And so I think I ride the line, like Jonathan was saying, and I dip my toe in both kind of viewers, in that like it does over glamorize their lifestyle. But I enjoy the ride, but also I'm like, I hate these people. I wish all of them would get an STD and go away.
What happens at the end of the ride for you? Yeah. What happens when you close it down at the end? Are you like supercharged? Are you like me, a bit depressed?
I feel a bit depressed, but I think in a good way. I mean, look, you're gonna think I'm crazy now because we just talked about how long that movie is, and it's way too long. But I saw this in the cinema twice in one day. The first day it came out. That's how much I liked it. I went in for an afternoon show with a couple of friends, and it like blew my mind. And I called up my brother, and I was like, "Oh my god, you got to watch the new Scorsese movie." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll watch it." And I'm like, "Do you want to watch it now? I'll go with you." And he's like, "Okay." And I watched it with him again that day, and I've seen it many times. I've since we've been locked down, I think I've seen it twice all the way through. Wow. Maybe 3 times.
Is this your favorite Scorsese? Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Not even, it's up there, but it's not even my favorite. There's something, I think it's just addictive to me. It's like a drug. It's something so watchable, so insane about it. I think it's so well made. Every time I watch it, the same moments give me goosebumps, the same like sort of camera pulls. But the ending, and I remember that moment in the movie theater because the camera suddenly turns on the audience at the end, and it's so reflective, and it's I mean, if you don't know, like, it's Jordan giving like a self-help seminar or something, and the camera turns toward all the people just watching him in awe. And it's like you in the cinema having just watched 2 hours of the guy doing the most debaucherous act known to man. And still you kind of are in awe for some reason. And it's just so, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is there. I don't know how I feel at the end of this movie. I think it's challenging me in a way that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll ask Marty one day.
I mean,
you ask Marty, come back to us.
I personally felt really dirty after watching it, but like,
you need a shower.
That scene that Phil is talking about, like, I felt like you do feel like you're one of those people, but the worst part of it is you also feel like they all look kind of dumb, and you feel like you're one of the dumb assholes who like
can't sell a pen.
You can't sell a pen. You like are the one that's gonna get grifted. You're the person who's gonna like be fooled, and while these idiots like Jordan Belfont get to live free and exploit people forever and just rip people off. And, like Phil said, that is almost America, and that is kind of sad. And we see that like currently going on right now, that like there's always the bailout, and those guys are always free to go. And I know like Scorsese does it's the similar thing with Goodfellas. Like he has shown you these horrible people, and I think his intention is for you to be like disgusted at them. But like I think, yeah, like if we jump back into that morality thing, like it's full blown. There's so much of it. You're just like, we get it, Marty. Like we get it.
But you don't really realize it until you see Leo blowing coke up someone, but you need to see it.
Yeah.
We can't just tell you it. It needs to be visceral.
I think one thing I do really enjoy about this film is that it seems like there's lots and lots of set pieces or scenes that would just, if any other film had like 3 or 4 of those, it would be a good film. But there's so many scenes like the fun coupons one.
That's a good scene. Yeah.
Which makes me fucking laugh my ass off. Crashing a helicopter out of your mind. There's lots of these little bits which really
it's like
kind of drive.
Fast and Furious movie.
It is, yeah. It just kind of puts there's more action in it than the Fast and Furious movie because there's very little slowdown. I mean, one of my favourite bits is Rob Reiner's character when you first see him introduced, and then every time in the film he's absolutely shouting and screaming his head off.
Yeah. That Max is great.
It's just there's a lot of things that drive the film along, and but then at the end you feel like say a bit dirty. Is there anything else you want to say, guys, before we head to the scores?
Well, Phil, you picked it. I mean, I could just say I think this film is like it's a solid film from Scorsese. I just don't hold it in high regards because it is, kind of intense, but it is solid. It's a solid film. And Leo and Jonah Hill, holy shit, like both of them are incredible. Leo, like Phil said, I think he deserved an Oscar for this role, and I'm surprised he didn't win, and I think it was better than his performance in The Revenant, but I think maybe Hollywood just rather not see him like snort coke out of a prostitute's butt, but rather see him crawl inside of a bear. And that's what you got to do in Hollywood to get Oscars.
In that, finding the clip to show for his performance might have been a bit difficult if they're like on the news. So the winner was, we can't show that. We can't really show that bit of the film. We can't show that bit of the film. Could we show that bit of the film? That's the real guy. We could show that. No, it needs to be Leo. So maybe they just couldn't.
I think the only bit you could show is like Jonathan said, that bit where he's trying to get into a car and he's on Quaaludes. He's like stick his foot in the door handle and it like raises him up. It's very Chaplin-esque. It's great. But I think that that's the safest scene. I've said my piece with the movie. I obviously like it very much. I think it comes together really well. I think it has really outstanding cast. Music, a sort of jarring soundtrack that shouldn't work but does for me, because it's all over the place. It's like it has music specific to the time and also sort of classic music and modern music. It's really all over the place.
Well, Scorsese loves his needle drop stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he does. I mean, it's very
he loves his Rolling Stones, doesn't he? But I didn't really understand it kind of took me out. The one song was the Foo Fighters
me
song.
Too.
And I like the Foo Fighters, but that was just like, why is this song in here?
Yeah, Everlong comes out of nowhere, and you were just listening to like Howlin' Wolf a minute ago, and
because the timeline doesn't match. Does the time were we in the 90s for that, or is that?
I think it technically matches, but I don't think it works. I think because I think Foo Fighters is still around, so if you hear Foo Fighters, you immediately think of now. It doesn't work for like a period piece. No, good stuff. There's good stuff in there around all the cocaine.
I got one more thing. Do you guys are familiar with like Steve-O from Jackass, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Do you think like Jonah Hill was like trying to be Steve-O in this film? I feel like he was channeling Steve-O because he's a big
when he eats the fish.
Yeah, he's a big Brother fan. His whole like vibe was like if you go and watch if you go and watch like Steve-O just really high as fuck, like out of those old Jackass videos or something like that, or just anything. Yeah, it's like, holy shit, that's what Jonah Hill was doing. He was a big Brother fan. That's like Big Brother skateboarding, which is just like skateboarding and weird stunts and stuff.
Where Ryan Dunn and those guys all hung out together.
Some of them, like Johnny Knoxville and
it was like
some
CKY
of those,
and Big Brother came together.
Yeah, came together and created Jackass. Yeah, yeah. But like, yeah, it's like he's notorious for being this nerd that was in, like in that scene. Of.
Not
So I just feel like he's channeling Steve-O.
I think I think he saw the scripts and thought, fucking hell, this is going to be fun. Let's see how far I can take it. And it's one of those things because Jonah Hill before this, for me, he was always kind of like, he's always a funny character. You know, in Superbad, he's the funniest guy in it. But you know, maybe the second scene is he's encouraging him to smoke crack in that random outhouse bit, and he's just like,
lions and tiger and bear.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a strange scene. And that's, you know, for other films that would be like the most dodgy scene that happens, but it just isn't.
One of many.
Exactly, but I think he just saw the script and thought, let's fucking have a lot of fun here because it's going to be insane. Let's just go for the ride. But I think he probably is channeling some of the Jackass guys. I'm not sure Steve-O specifically, but yeah, he's having fun.
That's what it reminded me of when I saw him. Something about those teeth as well.
Yeah, can I have some teeth and make them bigger and whiter? Great. You know, Jaws? That's what I want. Okay, let's head to the scores.
Hello, I'm Sam Pay.
And I'm Martin Scorsese-directed.
And we are the two hosts of a podcast called Song by Song, where we listen every week to a track by the musical artist Tom Waits. You might know him for his gravelly voice. Very nice. His appearance in films, but also his multi-decade spanning career involving blues, jazz, and all sorts of other kinds of experimental music.
So we're basically like a book club for Tom Waits, and if that sounds like your cup of tea, you can find us at songbysongpodcast.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. They're all out of 5. You may have decimal places, and we will start with you, please, Phil, with your recommendability.
5. It's going to be a 5 for everything, I think, but you know what? Yeah, I think if I recommended this movie to someone, they would think less of me, but I don't know if I would care that much. Again, I could see why, like, I understand everything, like, been said here, and I agree with some of it, but God, what a ride. Like, you know, roller coasters are scary, and they might make you throw up, but they're worth it for the experience. So I'll use that as my analogy for some reason. 5. I'm gonna mess the score up.
Jonathan,
I gotta give it. I think a 3.5.
He said 5. Did you hear that? He said 5.
It's a tough watch, and I think it's something that you're gonna like have a hard time selling on people. For many reasons, for the stock market being confusing, but then again, they
make fun of that.
They make fun of it the whole time. Yeah. They tell you it's fugazi, it's fairy dust. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's also very long, and that's the big thing. But then also, if I tell someone to go watch this and they're expecting like Goodfellas or Casino, and then they get like as much of the sex and drugs that you get bombarded with this film, then they're gonna probably be a little bit like, wow, and maybe turned off. So 3.5.
Helen.
I think most people I know have seen it, so like it's pointless me recommending it or kind of like telling them to see it anyway. 0. It's kind of an interesting one. You know what? I was just quite bored. It didn't really entertain me for long enough, and I don't know whether it was just, it kind of goes on and on and on and on to a point where you're just like, okay, I kind of get it, or you're just kind of like numbed because there's so much that you're just like, well, nothing's shocking me anymore because I've just had that much of it. So it's a shame because I do like Scorsese, and he just tends to make some long films. But I kind of, if it's Scorsese, I'm happy with that. Although I'm yet to watch The Irishman.
You gotta watch The Irishman.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to. It's longer than that.
You could have chosen it.
Well, this is it.
I could, but I feel like I would have been fighting a losing battle there, because I was one of the few people that liked it at the Prince Charles.
Oh, I really liked it. I liked The Irishman.
Really liked that movie.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go.
Another day. So it's still on Netflix. Someone may pick it, and my time will come. This film isn't for me. I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 4.2 because it is fun. And if someone hasn't seen it, I'm like, watch it. But for people with a nervous disposition, not for yourselves. And my caveat will be, it's a bit much. So just, if there's any point you think it's a bit much now, then feel free to just turn it off, because it's going to get worse. And that might happen right at the start.
Confrontation with too much.
Yeah, right at the start with the cocaine in the butt scene. If that's already too much in the first 5 minutes, then turn it off. That's probably the caveat. If you don't like the first 5 minutes, turn it off, and you'll be fine. So 4.1. Repeat viewing score, Phil.
Again, I'm going to be biased. I've already said too much and said I watched it twice in one day, and I've seen it several times since. I obviously get a lot of value out of rewatching it. It makes me laugh every time. It hits me every time. It just works for me every time I watch it, and I like sitting there and quoting along with it in the same feel as I watch like Goodfellas. Obviously not as much. Goodfellas is a better movie. And the length doesn't bother me. The length is never an issue if I like the movie. Although, like Kobi, you said earlier, it's hard to justify when I could watch 2 movies I haven't seen in the time it takes to watch Wolf of Wall Street. But whatever, Scorsese could make a 6-hour movie and I'd watch it. I literally, I just enjoy it. But for me, it has to be a personal one, and I would say 5. It would be a lie. It would be a lie. Any other score would be a lie, because I've seen it so many damn times, too many times. Jonathan?
I've got to go 2 because, and that's really low, I know, but I think it's just because I feel like once you've seen it, you've seen this one, and it's a bit of a struggle because there are so many good parts to it, so many good scenes, so many good performances and moments and stuff, but because of how long it is and how intense it is when you are trying to get to those good parts, it doesn't make for a good repeat viewing. So it's like, put it on maybe once every, I don't know, like I said, this time watching around was probably on the second time I watched it, so it's like it took a long time for me to want to rewatch it again.
When did this come out again? Was it
2013?
13. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Helen?
Yeah, so I had seen it before watching it for this, but I definitely didn't make it to the end. It's really long. I already said that, sorry. I'm probably not going to watch this one again. A 1.
I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for 2. I'm going to go a bit more, 2.2. And I think it's long, but when you press play, I'm happy I'm in it. It's the looking at the running time and thinking, it's not now. But when I saw it listed, I was like, yeah, great. I've not seen it for a while. I'm looking forward to watching it again. So I think the cadence for me is like once every 4 years, 5 years, I'd watch it happily. But and once you press play, I'm in it, and that probably leads to the engagement score more than repeat viewing. 'Cause it is long, but it doesn't feel long when I press play. I don't feel like it's laboured, like other, even 1.5 hour films can be seen laboured. But this was like, it's good. It didn't really sag that much. Maybe when he went to England, quote unquote, wherever that bit was set. Apart from that, it kind of just rattled along a bit too hastily. Small screen score, Phil.
Oh, that's interesting. I think you would be giving it a disservice if you watched it on the small screen to a certain extent. Not that it's not enjoyable, it's probably just as enjoyable, but it's a Martin Scorsese movie, and it's shot on, like, shoots on film should be projected from that if you can. I know that it's a mix of formats in this movie. He used in digital and film, but those shots, like, he played with, like, aspect ratios in the screen a lot, and there's something to, like, the shot I'm thinking of specifically. There's a moment where Jordan comes out to the floor to give a speech to the troops, and he has his arms outstretched, and the camera is literally in the palm of his hand, and he's sort of guiding it across the room, and then he throws it after the speech, and the camera, like, zooms over the whole crowd, and those moments are infinitely better in the cinema.
Sure.
So I think it loses something on the small screen. So I'll give it a 4.5 for that.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I can agree with Phil says. I mean, I feel like Scorsese definitely does make, like, films for the big screen, and seeing his films on the big screen are an experience. But again, I'm not, like, as big of a stickler for watching things. I feel like you can have a good marriage between watching things on a small screen at home, versus the cinema, and there's room for both. And I feel like with the length of this film, you can do yourself favors by being able to take breaks and stuff and kind of refresh your brain for a second, step away for a moment before you come back and finish it. Although you hitting pause on there will maybe, and seeing how much runtime is left,
will you return?
Kind of frighten you. yeah, it might frighten you.
So what's your score?
Sorry. Yeah, I'll give it a 4 for that. Because I mean, if you're in the cinema and you're dealing with that, you might be looking at your watch, or you get the jitter lag, So
gotta pee.
Yeah.
Helen.
Yeah. So I didn't see this at the cinema. I don't know why. I can't remember that far back. I think had I watched it first time in the cinema, I probably would have had a better experience with it, because, Scorsese is obviously making films for the big screen, and several of the big set pieces, they're so loud and they're so in your face that I think it kind of gets lost on a slightly smaller screen. I think maybe if you've seen it on the big screen first, and then it's easier for you to kind of watch it on the small screen, because you've kind of taken it all in. But watching it first time on a big screen, it just felt like there was too much going on for the one screen. But that says I wouldn't go and watch it in the cinema if it was on tomorrow. A 4, yeah, a 4. I think if you've seen it and you like it, you'll watch it on the small screen, but for a first watch, you probably best watch it on a big screen.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 4.5. I think what you said there, I think watching the big screen the first time is the best way to do it, and then subsequent watches is kind of just fine. Okay, engagement score. Phil.
I'll put my neck out again. I have to be at 5. I've put it on so many times, and I've watched it so many times, and I don't get bored of it. I'm still engaged with it. However many times later that I've seen it, again, there's something palpable, tangible about that story that I just enjoy watching. I think it's endlessly entertaining. So 5, even with all the bad bits, the naughty bits.
Jonathan.
I've got to go for 3.5 again for this as well. It's like it is sort of like a train wreck you're watching, and sometimes you can't turn your eyes away. It's like, you want to be a rubbernecker and see like this gruesome car crash that's going on, but at the same time, it's like I go back to that, like, pause it halfway through, just go to the toilet, and then you see you still have an hour and a half left, and you're like, Jesus. But if you're gonna take the plunge, go for it. I'm not the type of person to quit something, but go back to my repeat viewing score if you want to figure out how my algorithm works in my brain.
That was 2. So Helen.
I think I'm just still in awe that Phil went to see it at the cinema and then went straight back in to see it again.
I'm a sadist,
Yeah.
I mean, that's some commitment. Yeah, I don't know. As I said before, I just find it a bit boring. I just really struggled with it, and I mean, I did use this time to kind of have a little bit of a read into the things that, you know, sometimes these films are a little bit embellished, but like most of the stuff that's on there did happen, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's just, there's definitely a good 2-hour film in here. I really don't think it needed to have been this long. Maybe had it been a bit shorter and just some of the excess edited a bit sharper, maybe I would have been a bit more engaged. So I'm going to give it a 3.
I'm going to give it a 5 for engagement, because I think my cadence of not watching that often just means I'll be hooked in, and it's not like, as I said before, it's like a roller coaster. I'm hooked in. It's the aftertaste. It's that the dirty feeling. So whilst it's going on, I'm like in it to win it. So 5, and that gives us an overall score of 3.71250, which is decent. It's decent.
Not bad. A bit low for my liking, but whatever.
The way Phil said yes when you said 5, it was like that. We are one of us. We are one of us.
It's the repeat viewing score that let it down, and that's typically just what happens with longer films. Just generally. It's a repeat view of 2.55. Well, this is how the cookie crumbles. But thank you very much, Phil and Jonathan. Can you just sign off by letting everyone who's listening know where they can find Pod Charles Cinecast and Breadcrumbs and, well, the address for Pinch Charles Cinema as well? Yeah, well, you can find myself personally at Tall for All, TALL, the number 4 ALL on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. In the podcast, the Pod Charles Cinecast, we release weekly, usually Wednesdays, and it's great fun little film podcast. Wednesdays? I think is that the same days you guys go out? Yeah. Hey, you can line them up.
It's 2 in one day. There's
nothing to do.
So what's there
going on?
If you listen to this on a Wednesday, this is the end now. Just line up Pod Charles Cinecast.
Yeah,
exactly.
Double bill.
Continue.
Nothing else is going on. But yeah, it's
what are you doing, really?
It's a fun podcast. Phil and I have created this just madness over there in the last like half year. Because what else is there to do? The cinema's not been open, so we can't really talk about too much of the cinema. And but you can find us at the PCC Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and we have a little network that we're forming called the Breadcrumbs Collective at Breadcrumbs Pod, where it's Pod Charles Cinecast. We got a weird anti-podcast called Breadcrumbs, and we got a new show coming out soon called Franchised, which we're going to be talking about film franchises and going through each film in each franchise. Starting out with Fast and the Furious. So if you like those films, vroom vroom. That one's just going to keep on going forever and ever, isn't it? Yeah, we'll see how we get out of that franchise. I mean, it'll end. We'll go to something else, and then we'll come back the next time they drop another one. And there's only a couple more left, right? There's 9 and 10. I don't know. They're making $1 billion a pop. They're making $1 billion each time. So why would you stop that money machine? Because they're going too far. Because they don't know, like, space is the final frontier. It's just like, how can we go further than space? Not been underwater yet. True.
Good point.
So, Sea Lab 2021. There we go.
Sharks. Oh, they did have a submarine, didn't they? A subarctic submarine, didn't they, in one episode?
Don't spoil anything, because
the
secret to the Fast and Furious series right now is that I haven't seen all of them. So like I'm like,
I apologize.
No, it's fine. The internet spoils everything. It's fine. What's one more person spoiling things for me?
Spoiler, there's a submarine in one of them.
Great. I just got over the fact that Paul Walker died.
Anyway, on that bombshell. So, Phil, who are you? Where can we find you online?
Nobody. I'm on the Twitter, in the Twitter sphere, at FarawayNad. Also on Instagram, under the unusual moniker Dog I Met, DOGNed _I_MET Ned, where I post pictures of dogs I have met. And that's it.
It's usually me.
It's usually Jonathan. It's mostly dogs. And, no Wolf Street or otherwise yet. You can hear me on the Pod Charles Cinecas and the Breadcrumbs Pod. Please do check out our network over there. We have a cool little family of podcasts brewing, and it's always fun. We've got just to hard sell the Pod Charles Cinecas, it's like part film review show, part sitcom, part like existential crisis hotline. It's it's just I think it's not the podcast we want, but the one we need in these times. And again, thank you, Kobi and Helen, for having us. You two have a great show. I really enjoy it.
Flixwatcher. So it's well overdue. The amount of times we talk about you guys, we need to have you on here to represent, and you've done so admirably.
Represent.
Yeah. Represent that. Prince Charles Cinema. You guys go out there. It's a great place.
Picking dirty films, maybe. I don't know. Casino's still one. I genuinely haven't seen Casino, and every time I try and find it, it's just not anywhere.
Well, we show at the cinema on 35 every so often. So hey, if you get your Scorsese fix down at the Prince Charles Cinema.
So when the end of times finishes, when the end of times ends,
and the times begin again, then
I'll come to see you guys and watch Casino there.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
We'll be there.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks so much
for
coming on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.